Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week I think I'll fit CarPlay to my 2016 Macan S. Alright, well, I haven't actually introduced this car before to the channel, so I thought it was about time. This is my 2016 Macan S that I've had for a few months now. I did have my old Mercedes ML500 that we had for 7 or 8 years. It was just starting to get a bit long in the tooth, so we finally bit the bullet and we upgraded to this Macan S. Now, I've had it, as I said, I've had it for a few months. I haven't really introduced it to the channel because it hasn't really been relevant to other things that I'm doing, but I am absolutely in love with this car. Mrs. Jeff loves the car. It is definitely the nicest car we've owned, modern car we've owned by far. And there are a bunch of things that I'm really in love with about it, and there's a couple of things that I am not as much. So a few things that I really do like. I think it looks good with the 20-inch wheels on this car, and it has the tow bar package, which is what one of the big things that I needed to tick the box on. Particularly, this is going to take over towing duty, so it's really good for that. I am in love with this colour. As far as I'm concerned, this is the best colour that they came in at that time, and I am buying a second-hand car. It's always just getting options, and being able to get one in the colour that I really wanted definitely is a big plus, but that's just a roll the dice type thing. This has the big panoramic sunroof, and that is the only issue that I had when I got this car. We had a day, or actually had 4 days straight of constant rain, and the sunroof leaked and it filled the rear footwell in water. Since then, I have gone through, and what some of you might not realise is that sunroofs don't seal properly anyway. They always have potential for leaking around the edges, and that's why they have drains. So they have basically little plastic tubes going from the corners of the sunroof down through the pillars and then empty out on the ground, so that any water that does get in around the edge can empty out. And I have since gone through with just an air blower into the little holes in the corners. When you open the sunroof, there's a couple of little holes, blow through there, and there may have been a spider that went up in there or something like that, and it blocked the hole, and that's how it sort of overflowed into the car, and that's how it filled up with water. Haven't had a problem since I've blown them out, so that is a good thing, but something to keep an eye on. Anyway, this car being a 2016 and the earlier ones, it has PCM3.1, which basically means that the stereo controls, it's got the satellite navigation and all the reverse camera and all that sort of stuff that you want in this car, but it doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. That is something I'm going to rectify today. So let's get it into the garage, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this car is 5 years old with 113,000 kilometers on the clock, and the interior is in amazing condition. Black is always the most forgiving color. Not a lot of wear on the bolsters, which is quite impressive, and everything is in fantastic condition. The only exceptions being that it took us a while to work out what was going on, but on this panel on the side here, I'm not sure how well the camera's picking it up, but there's all these little marks, and it took us ages to work out what the issue was and how they actually occurred. And I think it's actually when you unlock the car, take your key out of the car, and on any sort of a hill, if you're trying to push the door open, somebody was pushing the door open, holding the keys in their hand and putting a dent in the door every time they got out. So that is where that came from. And the only other thing that does not work in this car is that this center little flap thing doesn't lock in anymore. It's yeah, that's it. But everything else works fantastically. All right, so this is PCM3.1, which is the same unit in 991.1 911s and Cayennes, and there's quite a few cars, all of this era, that all shared this same unit. And unfortunately, there is no simple way to get Apple CarPlay with it. Until these guys who actually contacted me, Joyeauto sent me this unit, so I'm going to have a look and see how well it works and try it and let you guys know whether it's worthwhile or not. Unfortunately, it is not a simple plug-in thing. You have to actually remove the entire unit to do it. So first things we're going to do is we're going to get this out and see what we have to do about installing the Joyeauto unit. No! All right, well that was really annoying. It's this is supposed to be relatively straightforward and simple, and it's really not. I watched a couple of videos on how to remove these dash panels, this vent, and I broke it. It's not that easy. In the video, there's a guy who sticks there's no sound, but a guy sticks a little tool in behind and just sort of grabs this. Basically, what you're doing is you're sticking a tool in and grabbing and hooking from behind here, and then pull and just pop the top, pop the bottom, and then it comes out. The amount of force he used in the video is just like, oh, and it comes out. Reality for me. I got the tool in the back, and as soon as I grabbed hold of it, it took so much force to get it out. I used a piece of coat hanger at first, didn't work, and what happened is because I had it hooked on behind and I was pulling so hard on it, it slipped off, grabbed the vents, and ripped the vents out of the guts of it. So I'm gonna have to order a new vent, which is really frustrating, but I've got it out and I've started now, so I have to continue. What I ended up working was, I made up this tool. It's quite a thick bit of rod that I bent over and made a hook, and this is very thick, very solid and strong enough. I found that when I was pulling on just a wrapped up bit of coat hanger on the end, the coat hanger just keeps straightening out and pulling straight. It couldn't get enough force on it to pop it the way I wanted it to. So I'm going to try again now on this other side and see if I can do it without breaking it. I am very annoyed and frustrated. It's definitely not going as smoothly as I would have hoped. Oh, that was so simple. With a better tool and using some support, I used my arm to brace myself so that I didn't pull too far if I did slip off, and that popped really easily. This side has popped out. I've just got to pop all the way along, pull the dash out. If only that had happened on that side. So you can get the tools from Porsche or VW, I believe. This one I made up. It just needs to be quite strong, and you need to be able to hang on to it nicely and make sure it doesn't slip. All right, that bit is out. Now, hopefully, fingers crossed, that's the hardest bit of the day. That was stressful. Now, the easy bit. 4 screws and a bunch of plugs. Yes, the Macan definitely seems like it's a bit more difficult to get those vents out than the other cars, and yeah, definitely not as easy as it originally looked. I got the second side out better with a good strong tool and a nice grip, and it took a lot of force to get those vents out. Even the far vent on the passenger side was quite a bit of force to get it out, but it's out now. Hopefully that's the most difficult part, but we do have to pull this thing completely down. Okay, so I managed to take out the 3 screws at the back, and there's 2 screws top, 2 screws bottom, and then there's a couple of these little retaining clips in these holes here, that little spring mounted, if you can see that little stainless steel thing in there. Those on either side, you have to sort of pop them out to get it open. And then we've got these 2 ribbons that are holding it still together. So we need to just ease those ribbons out of their holder, and we can take the screen off completely. And the screen is off, and we'll go and put this somewhere nice and safe. Okay, so now we have the top part of the unit removed from the bottom part, and we need to now install these little step up joiners. There's 2 joining together on to give a basically it's a platform to mount this other circuit board. So there's the 3 current little fittings down the bottom here we take out and replace with these fellas here. So okay, so if you have a look in here, you can see that I've made these stand mounts. So see how there's one there, one here, and there's another one down in the bottom down here. And now that's where this circuit board can now bolt onto the top of that, leaving these cables coming through. All right, so there's the new circuit board all mounted in, and then on the back here, there's a little blanking plate that I just unscrewed, and it leaves you a hole to run this cable here into the back. So if I run that through, run this in, and you have to be super careful if this will focus. This will focus, I'm not sure if you can see it there. There's little pins on the back of this. They need to be facing upwards, and that plugs in right here. So making sure they face up, make sure it's all plugged right in there. So where this cable comes out of the case, I went back actually and changed how I did it, and just used the original cover plate and screwed that in and used that to hold the cable to the case, so that if it gets pulled on, it's only pulling on the case and not pulling on the circuit board. The next thing I'm tackling here is the ribbons. So I'm connecting the original ribbons into the first 2 slots on your new circuit board you just installed. And then take the ribbons that come with the kit and connect them into the next 2 slots, and these will now go into your screen. Just make sure you get the blue edge strip against the white clip so that you've got them the right way around. The whole thing will become obvious when you actually get to it. All right, well, that all went back together relatively easily. It was pretty straightforward. Now we've got to put the screen back in. We've got our new cables here that we need to stick into the back of these screens. And just a tip to release these, the cables go into these, where these white slots are. To release the cables, you want to actually pull these little white tabs forward from either side, and then the cable will come out. And when you put it back in again, you push those white bits back in, and that locks the cables back in. So all right, so far, so good. That was all pretty easy, putting that circuit board in. That was the thing that I was worried about the most, not actually pulling the dash fence out, and the dash fence ended up being the difficult bit. So this all seems relatively straightforward at this stage. There is not a lot in the way of instructions. It has this very basic wiring diagram that comes with the unit. Hopefully I should be able to use this to work out exactly what we need and get it right. While we're here, we'll put the antenna on the back. This little plug here has to go into the center console. It does something with the audio that it needs to be plugged in. We need to plug a fuse into the fuse box. So I've popped off this side cover. There are fuse panels actually behind either side of the Macan, but on the driver's side it seems to be easier to get sort of underneath up towards where the pedals are, rather than the passenger side it's all sort of filled in. And I've gone through and had a look, And of these 3 rows of fuses here, down the bottom at least, this bottom fuse is second to bottom I'm going to use, is a switched fuse. We want switched power. These 2 rows seem to, the spare slots seem to be full-time power. You want to make sure you've got switch power, because otherwise your Joyeauto device is never going to switch off, and then you'll go out in the morning and you'll have a flat battery. So switch power, at least on my car, right-hand drive car, the right-hand side, second to bottom, furthest to the back, is the fuse I'm going to use. So let's run the wires through now and get the fuse up into the fuse box. And here you can see where I mounted the fuse into that spare fuse slot and ran the cable through under the dash to where I'm actually going to be mounting this Joyeauto unit. Nice and tucked away. All right, we've got it all in. So now hopefully I should be able to hit the navigation button. Oh, hey, we have liftoff. Something is happening. So I think I have to get my phone out and make sure I get everything paired up and ready to go. Set up. Bluetooth. Joyeauto. Joyeauto. Let's pair. Allow. Hey! How good is this? Carplay, it's all working. It's all good. All right, it's all working. So now it's time to actually fit it all back together so that this is all not just a shambles. Yay! So one last thing, I've got the microphone, I've installed it up here. I've just tucked the wire in underneath this trim panel here. I'm going to tuck it down underneath this rubber all the way down, and then it'll go through the side, through the fuse box into the Joyeauto unit, which is I'm hiding down in behind the fuse box down in here. All right, so I've got the unit all ready now. I've cable tied the bundle of wires together, keep them in towards the unit. And I'm putting a cable tie around the unit itself, and I'm going to run this, use another cable tie through this to pull it over and cable tie it up through from here. So I'm going to reach in and grab it from the inside, and then it'll all be secured away up under this side of the dash, away from the steering wheel, away from everything that's going to be potentially moving around. Keep it nice and secure. Let's make it neat. Alrighty, well that was a little bit more playing around than I expected. Mostly with these vents, I have actually managed to fix the vent up mostly, but there is some of the internal fins that are damaged. I've actually snapped little pins off the bottom of them, so I will have to chase another one of these down, which is very frustrating, but at least I can put this all back in again now and have it all looking nice and neat and tidy for the time being. If you want a more detailed installation videos, go and check out James at Auto Amateur. He's done a couple of videos on these now that have been really, really helpful on setting it all up. He's done them on 911s. Overall, besides the vents, it was actually quite a simple process. I did have a couple of teething issues trying to get it working where I hadn't had one of the plugs plugged in properly. Overall, pretty straightforward. So there's a link in the description to Joyeauto to actually get your stuff and we'll get you a discount at checkout. Hopefully you got something out of this. Overall, I am in love with this car. I'm annoyed that I broke something, but everything else is fantastic, and it's going to be even better now with CarPlay. All right, guys. Well, as always, please like, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. Join us on Patreon to watch the videos a day early, ad-free, and make sure if you need to buy parts for any of your Porsches, like I do now, check out prices first at PorschePartsByJeff.com. All right, guys. See you later. No.